you see a lot of someone being a billionaire or a millionaire that are mostly men. My mission is to help women understand that they need to be worthy, they need to be wealthy. I found that path through real estate. That's how the Wellthy Woman was born.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of More Than a Sale, the journey behind the actual sale, where we sit down individuals, where we get a chance to learn about the challenges, all the hardships they face to get to where they are in their career. And today I have such an individual sitting right beside me. She's the founder of Wellthy Women, and she is a real estate professional, Huda Alvi. Huda, welcome to More Than a Sale.
Thank you, Ron. I'm the founder and owner of the Wellthy Women, which was created out of a big rock bottom in my life. I went through a separation with my husband in 2020. I had no savings, no money, no real career. And I was like, how the hell did I end up here? I had no clue what was coming next. That's when I realized that if not now, when? One thing that definitely came out of that journey, after 35 years, I woke up feeling it's time to actually live and create an impact in my life. I can't get there unless and until I'm actually well. My mindset is well. My network is well. And that's where the wheel started turning. And I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Can you share with the audience a little bit about yourself for those who don't know you, and what's your story?
Okay, this is a hard one, but I'm going to nail it down into a couple of sentences. So I'm the founder and owner of the Wellthy Women, which was created out of a big rock bottom in my life. I'm a real estate agent that's been in the game for 2.5 years. I started off in real estate by investing in real estate first, then got my license. I'm a mother. I have 3 teenagers that my daughter just started university. And I also own a travel company on the side for women. So that's like the cool part about what I do in my life. And real estate is just a big passion, and that's what I do.
I wanted to ask you about the Wellthy Woman before we get into your real estate career, and I know you found great success, even though in a short journey that you've had of 2.5 years. For me, I never counted really as the quantity. It's really the quality of the cycle and the work that you do. But coming right back to it, the Wellthy Woman, you said that it was founded based upon a moment you had in your life. What was that moment for you?
So I'm very open with my story, and I do that because I feel like there's a lot of people that can either resonate, and I find that when people are struggling, they come out of the other side and then share their story. In my case, it's been very reverse. I went through a separation with my husband in 2020, and I think during COVID, everyone experienced some really big challenges. Life changed for a lot of people, including myself. So my husband and I have been together for 15 years now, I think. But in 2020, we went through a major separation, possibly even a divorce at that time. We are back together now, so I just want to preface that. But during that separation is where I had literally my aha moment. It was rock bottom for me. I don't think I've been in rock bottom more than so at that time. So after we separated and he left, I turned 35, didn't have a job, and I had 2 children of mine to take care of. And I had no savings, no money, no real career. I was in an HR profession before. I ran a successful HR business for 8 years. I kind of decided to let go of that business. It wasn't serving me. I wasn't passionate about it. And I was trying to find my way around life. And I think right at the time where I was trying to find my way around life, that's when the separation happened. And I woke up and I was like, how the hell did I end up here? It was extremely hard. I moved out on my own. And that's when I realized that if not now, when? When am I going to change my life? And truth be told, it was one of those moments where I was forced to change my life. I think that if that didn't happen in my life would have continued however it was going. But that moment forced me to figure out what I was going to do next. And
while all that, sorry to interrupt you, while all that was taking place and the separation was happening, how are you truly feeling? When you would wake up and you go to sleep, what was your state like? Tell me what was happening in your mindset. What were you feeling? What were you thinking? What was going on?
Well, I think a lot of people, when they're in the middle ages of your life, your mid-30s, your late 30s, early 40s, I think we all experience some sort of midlife crisis. Now, when I look back, 100% that was my midlife crisis. There was a lot of days, not just getting out of bed, but I think I lost all my confidence. Like, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what kind of identity I wanted to have, who I was before, who I was going to be after. I think it was one of those moments truly in my life where I had no clue what was coming next. Like, am I going to be able to find a job? Am I going to be able to survive? Am I going to be able to provide for my kids? Will I ever find love again? This is my possibly my second divorce. I was previously married, and then I was a single mom for 5 years before I met my husband. I'm also Pakistani Muslim, so coming from that culture and that background, there was just so much pressure and there was so much of the unknown that I really wanted to hide and kind of run away. That was my mindset, and it was like that for a long period of time. I think people mistake that when you're going through a rough time, that one, you think it'll never get better, and two, you don't know how to pull yourself out of it. And now when I look back, I truly do not know how I pulled myself out of it. A lot of people just say that you get up and you look at the next day, then you get up, then you look at the next day, because if you don't, then there's just so much unknown out there that it can really drown you and you can spiral downwards. And I spiraled a few times throughout that course of my life, which was about 8 to 10 months.
During that period, was there a support system you had? Did you have any friends or maybe family that was with you by your side while you were going through this?
100%. My family, my friends, I have a very small yet very powerful support system. I think that's really important because everything in life comes and goes, but your relationship and the people that truly love you and that you care about is what dictates the quality of your life. So I don't think if it wasn't for my friends and family, I would have made it. And those times is when they came through. So yeah, 100% a really good support system. But you know what? Even if you do have a really good support system, you still got to get up out of your bed every day. No one's going to solve your problems. They'll be there to support you, but they're not going to go find a job for you. They're not going to, so you still have to do it on your own.
So what was that aha moment for you? While you're experiencing what you're experiencing and feeling what you're feeling, what was that one moment where you're like, that's it, I've had enough. I gotta fix this. And what was that aha moment for you?
It's hard, Ron. I think some people talk about their stories and they say, it was that moment I woke up and I knew exactly what to do. But I think for a lot of people, there's a state of confusion for a really long time. And sometimes to get to clarity, it takes a lot of focus and a lot of this happening, that happening to be like, oh, this is what's meant to be. That's what's meant to be. So I don't think I had a big aha moment. I think I was just going through my journey and going through that rough period, being in that tornado, the eye of the storm, to be like, okay, I think I have to wake up better the next day. Okay, I think I have to make this move or that move. But if there was a aha moment, it was probably on my 35th birthday. I turned 35 and I woke up and I was like I said, how the hell did I end up here? Going through a separation, not having a job, not having anything to show for, no assets, no money in the bank, no savings. Like, how did I get here? I thought I had so much time. And I think that's what happens, right? Our biggest investment is our time. One day you wake up and you think to yourself, how did I get here? Either you didn't live out all your dreams, or you didn't reach your potential. You always just think it's going to happen, right? And then you wake up and you're like, it never happened. And that's the graveyard theory, right? If you want to see who's the wealthiest of them all, go to the graveyard, because everyone's dreams and everyone's unaccomplished goals are sitting in the graveyard. It's the wealthiest place to be. But us as humans, we waste so much of that time. So I think the one thing that definitely came out of that journey, after 35 years, I woke up feeling that it's time to actually live and create an impact in my life. That's the best thing that came out of my rock bottom.
That's so beautiful when you say it like that, because not many of us truly really live. We are living, but we don't really truly live. Where did the Wellthy Women sort of tie in all of this? After going through that, did you realize that it's not just me that could be going through this stuff? It could be other women in life that could be in the same predicament or problem. And that's when you're like, I need to connect with as many people as I can that possibly may be going through the same thing I'm going through.
Yeah, so I was actually a social media influencer before I got into real estate. Okay. And I want to say this because very quickly after being in the Instagram influencer world, I realized that the word influence is very heavily used and it's not real influence in some cases. So being a social media influencer meant, product placement, getting paid for certain brands. And I realized how unfulfilled I was. And very quickly, I wanted to change that influence into real impact. So a lot of my my Wellthy Women, a lot of my impact came through my social media when I started honestly sharing my journey. Talked about my divorce. I talked about being Muslim, Pakistani, going through a divorce, a separation, getting remarried, being a step parent. And I'm also very out of the box when it comes to being cultural or South Asian. I don't like to follow the norm. I never have. I got married when I was 18. I got divorced at 21. I was a single mom. When I walked down the aisle with my husband, we had 3 kids, and he had 1, I had 2. Is very unconventional. You know, people stared at us, looked at us, and there was a lot of backlash from my parents and our culture that they experienced too. And soon I realized that that was my superpower, because there's so many people behind the scenes going through these kind of situations where they feel shame and they feel like they're the only ones. So when I started sharing all of this, a lot of the impact came from people saying, I'm going through the same thing. I'm going through the same thing. And I also got backlash from people within my network that said, why are you sharing all of this? Who are you to share all of this? Why would you put yourself out there? And I quickly realized that those are their limitations because they're unable to share or they're going through something. So I quickly diverted my focus to just keeping focused on what I know is true to myself. The one thing for a very long time I've been true to is myself. And I want to get into that. And the reason for that is because I came from a background of my parents that was sort of unconventional too. My dad's Pakistani, my mom's Indian. They had a love marriage. And I say this because in our tradition, there's a lot of arranged marriages, there's a lot of pressure and whatnot. Because they lived their life to the fullest, we grew up in an environment with a lot of confidence, a lot of entrepreneurship. My dad pushed Rich Dad, Poor Dad when we were younger. So I'm very fortunate to have that upbringing. And because of that, I truly believe that, you know, being yourself was the only way to be. I didn't want to be anyone else. And when there was backlash and there was limitations, I just said, you know what, that's them. I need to do what's best for me. So when I came back on social media and when I started my Instagram account, that was my focus, to elevate, you know, the voices of people that are unheard. And I strongly have a deep connection to moving the dial for women. One, because I got divorced and there was no one else around me that was my age at 21 going through a divorce. Most of my friends were out partying, going out, living their life while I was at home with 2 little kids. And then going through a divorce, I felt so alone. So when I started sharing that, I also found community. I also found help, right? And that made me kind of continue my work. And then at 35, when I went through my separation, that's when the light bulb went off. And I'm like, wait, I have no money and I have no assets. I have no house to myself. I'm going to be by myself. What do I have to show for? That's when my passion for creating wealth or creating financial independence became at the top of my priority list. Not from a money focus, not from like, I need a lot of money, but from like deep down inside that I need financial independence. So I'm never in this situation again. And I think this is kind of cutting into it, but I think what makes me successful in real estate is because a deal is not at the top of my list. It's really helping someone move their financial independence from point A to point B to point C. Even now, a lot of the women that I deal with, they come to me with either no money or no game plan, but they're inspired to say, you did it. Can you help me figure out how do I get there? And that is so deep within me because it's a calling to my past and my struggles and my path. So when I went through that, I said, you know what do I want the ideal woman to be like? What did I go through? Yes, I can accumulate wealth and I can become rich and I can go into real estate, which is where I saw the door. I felt real estate would give me the life that I want of freedom. But at the same time, I said, I can't get there unless and until I'm actually well. My mindset is well. My network is well. My surroundings are well. My people around me are well. And that's why the Wellthy Woman is not spelt with a W-E-A-L-T-H-Y. It's spelled with a W-E-L-L. My mission is to help women understand that they need to be worthy, they need to be wealthy, and they need to be world class. They need to be the true representation of what they truly are in order to get there. And I want women to feel that it's okay to generate wealth and it's okay to drive around in nice cars and take care of themselves at home and be a mom and still go out there and crush it and kill it. And so that's how the Wellthy Woman was born.
You had children, and then was the family like not what you expected? Was the relationship?
No, it was just the wrong match, the wrong person. Just we didn't connect, and I was young, and I was just like, I can get out, I'll get out. Like I still had such a big life to lead, and I left, and I went through a 10-year divorce battle.
Shit.
Yeah, I didn't get divorced till like a long time. It was brutal going through custody and all of that, right? But that's what built my skin.
Is the father still involved with the children?
He is. He's still involved. And now that the kids are older, they get to do their own thing with him. So it's good. I'm kind of in the background, no need, but like it's a long journey to get here.
Do you still communicate to like kind of make things happen in terms of?
No.
No?
Just kidding. I don't want to. Like it's not, what happened? I levitated my story with him and my divorce to such a grand scale that it allowed me opportunities, and it was my story, my version, but it didn't create the same impact for him. He's like, oh, great. She goes living her life, doing whatever. So that's why it was so hard for 10 years, because he was very bitter about, being left, and then your mom's going and living your life. And that caused a lot of, riffraffs in my life. But I honestly have a very I don't give a fuck mentality when it comes to other people's opinions, because I just don't have time for it. I'm not going to live my life.
You had to develop that thick skin. If you didn't, it'd be a different.
Yeah. I mean, so many of us live life under, what is this person going to think? What is that person going to think? And you waste away your whole life.
Yeah.
Like so many of us, there's so many talented people. There's so much potential out there. Yet you tell that person, wow, you have so much potential, but then they're not doing anything with it. Majority of the reason is because they're so scared of their family and friends. That's like the major. That's why when you start a business, you find other people supporting you, but not your family and friends.
The worst thing about potential is not living up to your potential.
Yes.
Being told you can do great things your whole life, but then never you amount to any of it.
But that's the worst, because that eats you alive as you're aging and as you're growing, because you're like, everyone thinks I have it and I never did anything with it, and it eats at you and it eats at you. And then you got depression, then you got midlife crisis, and you got so many other things, right, that tack on.
So now, who inspires you the most in your life? What are some people in your life that have had a profound effect and that inspire you every single day? And any low moment you experience or you feel, or anytime you get down, who do you think about? What do you think about? And what gets you going?
When I started this new chapter of my life, going through everything, I became very intentional and actually very action oriented and very clear on what I want for my life. Every year, up until this day, I make a list of what I want the next year to look like. So I have things that I want to accomplish that inspire me: travel, faith, spirituality, business, wealth, impact. Those are like my 5, 6 kind of boxes. And I created a vision board this year, and I kid you not, 90% of that vision board, starting from January till now, is complete and passed.
Wow.
Which is insane, because when I started that vision board, it was a vision, and I was like, okay, I would like to do these things. But now that I'm looking in September, October, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this is coming to reality. But a lot of my inspiration is driven from real life regular people, because my dad is a huge inspiration. He's not out there publicly doing seminars and announcements, but he's such a visionary. He's been such a great role model and leader. My son is my inspiration. He's such a great example of a 16-year-old man that, is accountable. He has a Sunday routine. My daughter is my inspiration. So I think having real life people as inspiration that truly impact you is important. And then you've got aspirational people. I have some women that I aspire to be like. One of the ones is Sunira Mandani. Okay. She owns a tech company. She just sold it recently. I have Brene Brown, Mel Robbins. Like, these are women that I just constantly listen to that are very inspiring. But you know what? A lot of my inspiration has actually been driven by male mentors. All of my life, I've had very good male mentors in my life, starting with my dad, my brother. When I was previously married, my husband was a business owner. So I learned a lot of my sales skills and a lot of like my communication through him and that business that I was involved in. And then I had another business mentor in the industry. And just, I find that I've had a lot of male mentors, and I think I always wanted a female mentor. I never got it. And I learned so much from my male counterparts that I found that a lot of women are intimidated by male mentors. They don't know how to act. They don't know how to be. But I've grown up around a lot of strong male figures that I've really been inspired by them. So now I'm sort of like, I want to create more women mentors and women inspiring ladies so that women have someone to look up to.
Do you read a lot of books, or
I do.
What are some of your top books that you've read that have had a profound impact on you?
So I haven't finished this, but the 10X Rule by Grant Cardone.
Yeah, solid book.
Next level.
Incredible.
Like I read that book. I was in Portugal. I wanted to jump on a flight, come back home and start like doing the work.
I've read it and I've listened to the audiobook as well.
Okay, yeah. So I'm halfway. It's
Yeah.
hard with real estate too to finish everything, but that left a huge impact in my life. The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. I still feel like what I took away from that book was your mind. It's your garden or it's like a wreck in there. So that really taught me that your mind is your safe haven, right? That was a great book. You know, the Four Agreements.
Yeah, Four Agreements, yeah.
Solid, just like solid books that leave an impact in your life. But I try to read as much as I can. I'm an avid reader.
I always tell anybody, I said, if you ever want to know anything deeply about me, just come and take a look at my library. There's a category for everything. There's a category for love. There's a category for wealth. There's a category for mind. And I could map out my whole journey of my career and my life based on what books I read at what point in time for that sake.
Yeah, it tells a
I
lot
went
about
through a
a
full
person.
philosophical phase as well of all the things that I wanted to. I was like questioning the world, questioning life. Who am I supposed to be?
On the journey, like
all
Huda.
the journey, you got all of that, and then I have all the love books, or when I went through my breakup and I was trying to understand where did I go wrong.
Yeah. You know what? I think it's the same with people that read a lot. I've got the same sort of setup in my home. I've got my spirituality section, then I've got like my wealth and finance section, then I've got love. And I think, you know, I saw this quote a long time ago and it still resonates. It says, those who don't read don't lead. And I think that's so powerful because when you read something, you just gained a new perspective and something you didn't know yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think you can add so much value when you know something that the other person doesn't, and you don't know what kind of impact you're leaving on someone else by just sharing something you learned.
Yeah.
So books are great.
You know, as I get to know you, I realize that you have a very interesting sense of humor. Okay, like what I would find funny generally, you would totally find funniness. Like you would laugh at the most randomest moment. And what are some hysterical moments or funny moments you've had when you were, you know, showing properties or sitting down with the seller or buyer or investor? Any moments that come to mind that you'd like to share with the audience?
I don't think it's all real estate. So first of all, my name is pretty complicated.
Yeah.
Huda, you say Huda, but I'm going to correct you and say it's Huda.
Okay.
But no one can say Huda.
Okay.
So when I first immigrated to this country, I didn't realize Huda was like a rap song. Huda, Huda, Huda. You heard that song, right? So I'm like a new immigrant. I'm like 13 years old, walking around high school, and people are like, Huda? Huda, Huda, Huda. And I was like, what song is this? So like, I've had so many different experiences. One, my name, I think people just sort of like take my name and butcher it in so many ways. And then Huda Beauty became a huge influencer.
Yeah.
So every time I go and say my name, they're like, oh, like Huda Beauty? I'm like, yeah, sure, like Huda Beauty. But I don't know. I have a very unique laugh. People usually laugh because I'm laughing. If you make me laugh in this podcast, we'll be able to see. But people still remember me from high school. They can hear me in the hallways because most people laugh and their breath goes outwards. Mine goes inwards. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. See, that's my laugh. And for so long, I was so intimidated. I was like, oh my God, I got to control my laugh. Like people are going to think, but you know, you fall in love with your own uniqueness and your quirkiness and you realize it makes you different. The other day I was at HomeSense looking like a complete shit show. Okay. I looked terrible. And some girl goes, are you Huda? I follow you on Instagram. And I'm like, yeah. She goes, I recognize you by your voice. And I was like, oh, okay. She's like, I heard you laugh. And I was like, oh my God. So you know what? It's just funny now how things work.
Yeah. Let me ask you something. If you were to answer this question, if you were to leave a lasting legacy, what would you want to be remembered by? When people think of Huda, who is Huda? What would you say?
She cares. She's kind, she's very giving, and she's completely honest. And that's what I usually get. That's me. Like, I really care about people. I think it's very important to care about things, especially in this generation where everyone wants to sort of move on to the next thing. And I tell my kids this all the time. We're in a not just an instant generation, but we're also who cares kind of generation. And some things you just really need to hold close to your heart. You need to care about it. Not every relationship needs to end just because someone did something to you. There's work in progress. You need to take the steps in order to see the beautiful result at the end. So yeah, Huda is lives out her dream. She lives on, she always thinks everything's possible. She inspires and instills the best in everyone. I've been told that I see the goodness in everyone. It's very hard for me to feel like, a lot of people are like, well, I can't trust this. Don't believe what they say. I'm the complete opposite. If I see you, I feel like good vibes. I'll come back home like, Ron's a great guy. He was great. I'm not one person to be like, well, wait a minute, he was too nice. Let me think about, what else. That's not my mentality. So that's who I am.
If you could share one piece of advice or tip with someone or a woman in particular that is going through a hardship or going through challenges with her family, with her life, whatever they may be experiencing, what would that advice be?
So I will say to travel. I'm pretty sure a lot of your audience might be looking to read a book or go find a support system. I think the way that travel opens and changes your mind for possibility, no other type of experience can do. I've been a traveler since I was 20. In my 20s, I started traveling. And a lot of people look at travel, especially when someone else travels, oh, you're so lucky, you're going here. And they look at it almost like you get to do this and, oh, you're going here, you're going there. But for me, travel is the way to humble yourself, to way to open up your mind, to see different people, different cultures, and to sit by, like having the opportunity to sit on a beach and watch the sunset. Do you know what happens in those moments? That's when you question. You're like, what am I doing with my life? What do I want? Am I happy in this relationship? Do I want to quit my job? Am I doing what I'm meant to do? You don't get a chance to think about those things in your regular day of life because you're so caught up. And a lot of people say, I don't have money to travel. And I always get this question, how do you travel so much? And I say, just like I buy my groceries and eat my food, it's the exact same way. It's a necessity for me, and so I do it. What travel has taught me is confidence, independence, being humble, being able to open up my mind. When I travel, I think, oh, it'd be nice to own a property in Costa Rica. Wait, it'll be really nice to maybe retire early. It makes you want to create freedom in your life, and that freedom then goes back to goals and ambitions and who you are and what you want for yourself. We've got, if you're lucky, 60, 70 years to live in this life. If you're lucky, healthy versions of you, right? And then you're gone. And so in 60, 70 years, if you're living the same week over and over again, calling it life, that's not life. It's not. You're just living the same week over and over again on repeat. But when you stop, pull yourself outside of your surroundings, go to another country, meet a new friend, try pottery class, connect with someone else, say no to that invite, that's when you start opening up your mind and yourself.
Is there a memorable travel moment that comes to you right now? For me, it was when I was 21 years old. I had taken a trip to Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos. And I just went by myself. I did it through this company called Contiki Tours, young travelers. And I did a last minute booking 2 weeks before the date. And if anyone ever asked me, was the most freest you ever felt? I said, that's when I felt the most freest. I had long hair at the time. I had no major responsibilities on my shoulders. And I would just walk freely through the streets, eat wherever I want, drink wherever I want, hang out with strangers I created long-lasting relationships with, where you can speak anything, say anything, and then be you truly. And so that was one of my moments in my life. Every time I think back to that moment where I felt completely free, because then life kicks in and adulthood kicks in and major responsibilities trickle on and so forth.
I did something really incredible for myself that I've never done before, and I took a solo backpacking trip this year, and I went to 3 countries. I went to Costa Rica, Colombia, and then I met up with some friends in Guatemala.
Nice.
Being in a backpack and being free, you are detached from everything you thought you ever needed, especially being in the real estate industry where you're judged by the car you drive, how many transactions you do, how many deals you do, how much money you make, and then having to hustle when you come back because we're in a commission-driven, industry. That experience was unlike other. And that's where I realized, like in my life, that that is what I want. Like, it's to be able to get to that freedom, you require money. In order to get money, you need to work hard. Like, everything goes backwards, right? But that was my moment, like being in Colombia in the middle of nowhere by myself in a backpack, carrying myself around. Incredible.
I want to thank you for sharing your story today and being honest and transparent with us. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in for another episode of More Than a Sale. We had the incredible Huda Alvi. To hear her story, I'm a little emotional right now, and it feels great to meet a inspirational person such as yourself. I've known you, I've gotten to know you so much better now after hearing all those things. Stay tuned for the next episode, More Than a Sale.